yung isang araw bago masukot na maong.
Boss, natanggap mo yung ano ni Rudy.
Ayun, di ba?
Yung pera. Wala ba yan?
Cute lang yun.
Kaya baka naman gamitin din naman yung Rudy. Yung kasi masabi ko, gamitin lang yan.
Hindi naman.
Bakit ito?
Ayun lang yun, parang ginagawang leverage lang ngayon. Kung ibigyan namin to, bigyan mo rin kami.
Katotohanin nila yung total.
Humingi rin yung MOE nila ng sabi. Madrama lang yun. Yung madrama rin yun para may rason sila mag-English.
Hindi na sana problema yung natin. Yan, alam mo na lahat yun.
Rick. Yun na nga eh. Ayoko.
Ayoko.
Session is called to order. Please rise for the singing of national anthem.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupi, di ka pasisingil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong paghaw, may nilang ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidikdik, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng waraming pagsikta, buhay ay langit sa atin mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga atin, at mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Invocation to be led by Representative Mark Go.
Loving God, we give you thanks for giving us another day. We pause now in your presence and acknowledge our dependence on you. Be thou present, O God of wisdom, and direct the leadership of this honorable assembly. Enable us today to settle things on the best and surest foundation, that order, harmony, and peace may be effectually restored, and truth and justice prevail and flourish amongst the people. Preserve the health of our bodies and vigor of our minds. Give us abundance of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, that we might know best how to proceed in the work you have given us to do, as well as the courage to act once we have discerned where your Spirit might lead us. Remove fear and confusion. Wipe away distrust, which only inhibit good judgment and leadership. Strengthen the resolve and compassion of all members, that we may serve your people with renewed clarity of vision and refined purpose that will soon unify this nation in self-discipline and confidence. For you reward the just and their deed. Lord, give our minds, thoughts, hearts, and desires. Breathe into the members of this House a new spirit. Shape this Congress and our government according to your design, that all might fulfill your holy will. Bless the members of this assembly with attentive hearts and open minds, that through the diversity of ideas we may sort out what is best for our nation. May all speech in this assembly be deliberately free of all prejudice, so that others might listen wholeheartedly. Make all dialogue be mutually respectful and lead us to unity and agreement for our nation's best interest. May all that is said and done in this chamber today and always redound to the benefit of our nation and for the glory of your holy name. This we pray through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, colleagues. The next is the roll call. What is the pleasure of the Majority Leader?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we defer the calling of the roll.
There's a motion, no objection. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we defer the approval of the journal.
There's a motion, no objection. The motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we now proceed with the reference of business and request that the Secretary General be directed to read the titles of bills, resolutions, and first reading, as well as communications and committee reports.
There's a motion to reference of business, no objection. The motion is carried. Secretary General, please.
Reference of business, bills on first reading, House Bill 4326, separating converting the Wigan Integrated School, Representative Agabao.
The Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 4327, establishing a drug rehabilitation center in Parañaque City, Representative Tambunting.
To the Committee on Dangerous Drugs.
House Bill 4328, establishing reforms in the regulation of collective bargaining agreement, Representative Tambunting.
To the Committee on Labor and Employment.
House Bill 4329, creating the Lake Lanao Development Authority, Representative Adjong.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 4330, implementing free housing projects in select urban and urbanizable areas, Representative De Vera.
To the Committee on Housing and Urban Development.
House Bill 4331, renaming Bohol Island Circumferential Road, Representative Relampagos.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 4332, authorizing the DOH to transact with pharmaceutical suppliers, Representative Pancho.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 4333, adopting the rules of legal or intestate succession under the Civil Code, Representative Billones.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 4335, amending the composition of the LTFRB, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 4336, penalizing the practice of restaurants, hotels, inns, canteens to serve order price from a customer if it less than 1 cup, Representative Aragones.
To the Committee on Trade and Industry.
House Bill 4337, promoting the use of urban agriculture, Representative Salon.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 4338, mandating the disclosure of the nutritional contents of standard menu items, Representatives Nieto, Maceda, Parinas, several others.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 4339, strengthening the Philippine National Police Criminal Investigation Unit, Representative Acop.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
Resolutions, House Solution 534, expressing the profound condolences of the House to the family of Honorable Euprosino M. Codilla Sr., Representative of the 4th District of Leyte during the 12th, 13th, and 14th Congresses, Representatives Alvarez, Parinas, and Suarez.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Solution 535, congratulating Mr. Paulo Macapagal Ballesteros, Representative of Atienza.
The Committee on Rules.
House Solution 536, congratulating commending Ms. Kylie Fausto Bersosa, Representative Atienza.
The Committee on Rules.
House Solutions 537, 538, commending congratulating Senator Emmanuel Manny Pacquiao, Representatives Atienza, Nieto, Maceda, Malapitan, and Martinez.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Solution 539, direct the Committees on Public Order and Safety and Justice to investigate the raid conducted by the CIDG, Representatives Tino, Zarate, Desu, several others.
To the Committee on Rules.
Communications, letter dated October 17 of Maria Gleda Ilim, State Auditor 5, COA.
The Committee on Appropriations.
Letter dated October 17 of Aileen Anunciacion Arzosa, OIC, BCDA.
To the Special Committee on Basis Conversion.
Committee report number 18, House Bill number 4340.
To the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, with leave of the House, I move that we open the privilege hour.
So motion to declare privilege hour. No objection. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that the Honorable Gentleman from the 3rd District of Cagayan, the Honorable Randolph Teng, be recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Congressman Randolph Ting is recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the honorable members of the House of Representatives, good afternoon. I rise on a parliamentary privilege to bring to the attention of this august body the plight of the people of Cagayan who were ravaged by the onslaught of Super Typhoon Lawin. Last October 19, 2016, at around 11 p.m., packing with a strength of 225 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness of up to 315 kilometers per hour with a diameter of 800 kilometers, Super Typhoon Lawin had its landfall in northern Luzon, particularly in the municipality of Peña Blanca. Then traversed almost all the municipalities of the 3rd District and the entire province of Cagayan, going to the provinces of Kalinga, Abra, Baguio, Ilocos, then out of the landmass of our country. For almost 8 hours, our people experienced the worst typhoon of their lives, not knowing where to go as the roofs of their houses were blown away, holding on to their children and family who were in hysterics, crying and praying to God for mercy, asking Him to stop the trauma that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. When the typhoon exited the following day, when people were able to get out of their houses, they have witnessed the aftermath of Super Typhoon Lawin. Heavily damaged houses and shelter structures, fallen electric posts and cell sites, uprooted trees, some barangays underwater, destroyed bridges, impassable roads, flooded farms, missing household and farm animals, and other views that shattered them. Even government structures were not spared. With no electricity, water, and food, the feeling of helplessness began to creep on our people. As communication lines and internet were dead for 24 hours, no updates and situational report were going out of the province, leaving everyone outside of the province clueless of what happened to their families. The recorded total damage to agriculture reached 6 billion pesos, with rice crops experiencing the worst at 5 billion. Damage to infrastructure was estimated at 2.8 billion, with 25,000 totally damaged houses and 93,834 partially damaged. The typhoon affected 163,827 families, or about 800,000 individuals. Up to this time, electricity has not been restored 100%, mostly in the hardly hit areas of the province. Fortunately, as the local government units prepared early and conducted preemptive evacuation of people in low-lying areas, the reported casualties were very low. Relief operations were immediately conducted as soon as it was possible. Help came from concerned agencies and private organizations, particularly on water and food. As there was no electricity to facilitate the production of purified water, and deep well sources are unsafe because of what the typhoon did, my office, with the immediate help of friends from other provinces and the compassionate officials and employees of the House of Representatives and the Senate, conducted our own relief operations. Up to this time, we are distributing packed rice, canned goods, other food items, and water to our constituents to help them with their daily survival. However, the urgent help that our people need is the provision of GI sheets, plywood, wood, and nails to help them rebuild their houses and other structures crucial to their livelihood endeavors. Aid is indeed needed for them to restart their lives and get back on their feet. Typhoons and other calamities keep stalling our growth. When things like this happen, our readiness in disaster response is always put to test. It seems though our response in providing relief to our people is made slow by bureaucratic procedures that need to be fulfilled before people can avail assistance. Moreover, a huge amount of government funds, instead of being used for rehabilitation of people affected by such calamities, are used to reconstruct government buildings and other structures. Rescue operations are also slow because of the lack of appropriate equipments and skills. Coordination among concerned government agencies that assess extent of damage to determine the rehabilitation program that will be instituted is also weak. It is as if for every major calamity that strikes our country, we are at a loss as to how we should provide assistance to our people that assess our disaster preparedness. In view, therefore, I would like this august body to consider the following measures that could help us prepare better for calamities such as the Super Typhoon Lawin. 1. Amendment of Republic Act 656, otherwise known as the Property Insurance Law, that will mandate the insurance of all government properties and structures in order for government to cut down on the budget used for reconstruction or rehabilitation of damaged building and other structures due to natural disasters and calamities. 2. Review of the mandate of the Bureau of Fire and Protection for them to become the primary rescue and relief operations personnel of the government, not only during fire, but also during typhoons and other calamities, to include the provision of proper training and equipment for its personnel. 3. The Department of Agriculture should study the possibility of enrolling all farm lots under an insurance program to make sure that the value of all damaged crops will be retrieved for the farmers to have a start-up capital for the next cropping season. 4. Review of procedures of certain government agencies tasked to give relief and assistance to disaster-affected families and individuals in order for them to receive government assistance immediately, particularly on the following. A. Review of the systems or procedures and requirements needed in availing calamity loan from the Government Service Insurance System, the Housing and Development Mutual Fund or PAG-IBIG, and the Social Security System in order for member beneficiaries to get their proceeds for the soonest possible time. As the calamity loan is a form of financial assistance, member beneficiaries should also be able to avail of when they need it the most. B. The systems and procedures involved in the distribution of relief goods being done by the DSWD, since it appears that it passes through several channels before it trickles to the recipient. We recommend that DSWD directly gives it to the barangays if they cannot give it directly to the recipient families or individuals. Furthermore, availing the emergency shelter assistance should be simplified for recipients to receive it the soonest possible time or within 30 days. 5. In the light of technological advancement, the DOST should include among its disaster facilities a capability that will provide near real-time image of disaster-affected area through its project NOAA and Aguila. 6. As per experience, members of rescue team in disaster-affected areas cannot perform their job when needed most because they have to attend to their own families who are also affected by the calamity, thereby delaying rescue operations. We therefore recommend that on-call rescue teams from other localities, provinces, and regions be tapped as rescue strike force to immediately respond to disaster-stricken areas. We also recommend that a battalion of trained military personnel be assigned at the disposal of the NDRRMC for immediate deployment to calamity-stricken areas just after every calamity for rescue and relief operations. 7, the restoration of electricity and water is one of the primordial concerns after disasters. In the case of Cagayan, we thank all electric companies for extending help to Tuguegarao City and the other affected towns in reinstalling fallen electric posts and cables. We therefore recommend that electric, water, and sanitation companies become member of the NDRRMC or to legitimize the assistance they can possibly give during such disaster. And 8, the quick response fund of the different agencies concerned should immediately be utilized for rehabilitation of major infrastructures such as classrooms, school buildings, bridges, and others so as to hasten the rehabilitation of affected areas. And 9, the allowed utilization of the calamity fund should be reviewed, for it appears that 70% is used for pre-calamity preparations and only 30% is available after the calamity, which entails more funds for rehabilitation activities. And 10, lastly, coordination by government agencies conducting relief and rehabilitation of affected areas should also be coordinated with legislators, local officials, and other stakeholders in order to have a unified approach in the delivery of relief and not to duplicate efforts being done. This will ensure lesser costs as well as addressing of the actual needs of affected communities. Cagayan is down at the moment, but is slowly getting up on her feet. We are at the lowest point of our lives as people, but just like every Filipino, we will rise above this disaster. We need your help for us to get back on your feet, and we know you are one with us in our struggle to rise from the rubble. Cagayan, kaya natin Cagayan para sa bayan. Thank you very much, and God bless us all.
Thank you, Congressman Randolph Ting. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the gentleman from Buhay Party List, the Honorable Jose Lito Atienza, be recognized for his interpellation.
Congressman Atienza is recognized.
Salamat po, Mr. Speaker, for your graciousness and the majority floor leader. With the kind permission of the gentleman from Cagayan, we would like to clarify certain matters with his message to all of us.
Yes, of course.
Kami po ay nakikiisa sa inyo na ang ating mga kapatid sa Cagayan ay masyadong napahirapan itong nakaraang bagyo na parang hindi nakapaghanda at hindi nabigyan ng kaagyad na tulong pagkatapos ng bagyo. Tama po yung mensahe nyo. We agree with you 100%.
Hindi naman po, Mr. Speaker, ang sinasabi lang natin na kapag handa po tayo, but the after disaster response, doon po tayo nahirapan dahil hanggang sa ngayon sa katunayan, yun pong ilaw sa probinsya ng Cagayan, hindi pa po 100% restored. And it's already about a month. If you remember, Mr. Speaker, it was our last day of the previous session on October 19 that the disaster struck Cagayan. Super Typhoon Lawin struck the provinces of Cagayan and the other provinces in the north. So, dun po kami nagkakaroon dahil pati po dun sa mga sistema hanggang sa ngayon, although prepared naman ang lahat dahil nga alam yun, maaga yung pagdating ng mga balita tungkol sa lakas po ng bagyo, nagkakaroon po ng problema. Unang-una, doon po sa experience namin, According to reports, ang sabi po ng DSWD, the relief packs were prepositioned. But the problem was that although these were prepositioned, hindi po na-deliver doon sa mga victims dahil nung kasagsagan, kalakasan po ng typhoon, wala na pong makalabas ng kanilang mga bahay dahil nga nagkaroon ng napakalakas na bagyo. Then after nung ng typhoon past specifically my district, the 3rd District of Cagayan, hindi po kagad makapag-relief operation because of the fallen trees and other fallen posts of electric posts na hindi po makapag-mobilize yung mga rescue operations. So na-delay po yun pagdating ng mga relief packs na expected na makarating po sa ating mga mamamayan sa Tercera Distrito ng Cagayan.
So we will not dwell too much on the preparation angle, as the gentleman from Cagayan seems to be satisfied that indeed the government was prepared. So I will just ask, would you say that in Cagayan, Isabela, Nueva Vizcaya, all the provinces and local government units have been specially trained on the geohazard mapping that has already been done and has been covering the provinces that you mentioned, including your district. So, masasabi po ba ninyo, for the record, na sila ay nabigyan na ng tamang orientation on the dangers and the continuing threats that typhoons will be definitely bringing to your region and your province? You would say that? I will accept it.
I think so, Mr. Speaker, because even in the city of Tugigaraw, when I was still the mayor, we have these geohazard maps. But the problem now was that our preparation is for the usual preparation is for flooding because of the release of water from the Magat Dam. But this time, it was a different typhoon with stronger winds but less rains. So dito tayo nabigla dahil ang preparation usually is for yung mga geohazards maps that were prepared were only for flooded areas. But you cannot specifically point out to the effects of a super typhoon with strong winds on the residences or all the infrastructures in that area. So, lahat po naapektuhan kaya nakakabigla po dahil hindi inaasahan yung ganun pong kalakas na super typhoon with the winds around 225 kilometers per hour and a gustiness of 300 something. So dun po, although alam na natin yung mga areas na vulnerable, pero ito nagbago nung sitwasyon nung dumakas po yung hangin at ang tinamaan ang mga bubong po ng mga kabahayan at mga iba't ibang mga government buildings.
We will not argue the point of the gentleman. If he's happy with the preparations and the LGUs did their job and to him they were enough, we will not argue that point. Although we still say if LGUs are properly oriented on disaster mitigation and adaptation, then we will not be suffering more than we should be. Kung yung bagyo ay lumakas, alam din po natin yon. Sa Maynila, alam natin eh. Di doon po sa area tatamaan, dapat alam po nila. At yung po namang geohazard map ay hindi lamang po tungkol sa baha o yung mga bunga ng bagyo, kung hindi yung paghahanda. Kaya nga po gumawa ang gobyerno ng geohazard map para sa ating kapuluan upang ang lahat ng mga kapuluan na madalas tamaan ng bagyo ay makapaghanda ng tama. But if the gentleman is happy with it, I will not argue the point, as I will only remind that there is such a thing as a geohazard map for the whole archipelago of the country. And if I were a governor in one province that is visited by typhoons 5, 6, 7, 8 times a year, I will definitely take more special and aggressive positioning of everything that may be needed. But I am not critical, to be very careful about it. I'm not critical of the gentleman's efforts to deliver the message to us. In fact, it's commendable. But let me ask him then, will you say that the response of the Social Welfare Department in food rationing, food delivery, feeding the hungry and the affected families, would you also say that they did all right? Or would you like to stress furthermore where we can be helpful in preventing such calamity and miserable impact of a natural incidents like a typhoon?
Overall, I believe the DSWD were prepared. But the problem lies in the release, the actual release of the relief goods. Doon po nagkakaroon because upon delivery to the DSWD regional office, this will be turned over to the local government units. But these relief goods were being held after and will only be distributed after the disaster strikes. So, yun po ang nagiging problema because in times of calamities like this, that there is a super typhoon with a category of number 5, then I just hope that we can find ways that these relief goods be delivered immediately to the recipients of the expected typhoon victims. Kasi ang problema, nagiging problema is if the relief goods were kept in the storage of a certain local government units, then after the typhoon strikes, then there will be a delay of about a day before these relief goods reach the victims of typhoons. So doon ko gustong magkaroon ng dapat magkaroon po ng trigger na pag typhoon number 5 na and expected to hit landfall, kaagad po yung mga DSWD will instruct yung mga local government units or whoever that will give these relief goods to deliver these relief goods to the victims, to the supposed victims, maidala na before typhoon strikes. Because pagdating nung mismong typhoon, hindi na po nakakalabas yung mga rescue operators natin dahil po sa lakas. Then, pagkatapos ng typhoon, nagbagsakan ng mga poste, nagbagsakan ng mga punong kahoy, hindi na makadaan yung mga sasakyan. Kung may baha, hindi na rin makaikot yung mga sasakyan na magdadala sa mga taong bayan, nade-delay po yung kanilang relief operation. So this is one area na gusto ko pong mag-improve yung sistema po ng relief operations ng DSWD or yung pagbibigay ng mga relief goods ng DSWD.
So the gentleman is pointing out that indeed there should be improvements in the delivery of relief goods. Yun po ba inyong mensahe o happy rin po kayo sa nangyari?
Ganun po ang gusto kong mangyari.
There
Hindi
should
lang
be an
po
improvement.
dito sa delivery ng relief goods, kung hindi sa other mga remedies available sa DSWD. Parang po yung emergency shelter assistance. Ang emergency shelter assistance, according to the news reports that I saw yesterday, they will be releasing a partial amount of 5,000 per victim or per recipient or per whatever they call that, yung mga beneficiaries of the ESA after 26 days ng typhoon. And usually, ang nangyayari on the ground, pagka nagkaroon po ng bagyo, immediately after the typhoon, people will start rebuilding, especially their residences. And in this case, dahil nga malakas yung typhoon, ang dami pong nalipad na mga yero at nasirang mga kabahayan. Ang DSWD, nag-a-assess pa lang po ng isa-isa, nagbabalidate, at kung minsan nagkakaroon ng problema dahil nagrereklamo po ang mga kababayan natin na pinipili lang daw po yung mga nabibigyan. Pero siguro hindi lang po talaga nila naiintindihan yung proseso. So, in the case of ESA, I hope na ma-improve natin yung release po ng emergency shelter assistance na within 2 weeks before po mangutang yung mga kababayan natin sa mga 5-6 operators, nabigyan na po sila ng tulong magmula po sa DSWD. Kaya kailangan ang isa pang dapat gawin ng DSWD, maging malinaw po ang patakaran kung paano po mag-avail ng emergency shelter assistance sa kanila para hindi po lahat ng tao nagtatanong-tanong at nagtuturuan ng mga paraan kung paano po mag-avail. Dahil marami po nagsasabi, hindi kami nabigyan, pero hindi pa naman po talaga nakapag-release.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, Mr. Speaker, may I ask the gentleman, how would he rate the DSWD's performance in Cagayan and the other affected provinces of Typhoon? Ano po ba ang pangalan ng typhoon? Lawin.
Yun sa Super Typhoon Lawin po.
Opo. In a scale of 1 to 10.
Siguro passing lang. Passing lang. They can do much better.
Ano po ba yung passing nyo? 2, 3, 4?
7.
So
Out of 10.
So you are happy with the Social Welfare Department's performance?
Yes, of course.
So ang mensahe
Mr.
ninyo
Speaker.
sa amin ngayon ay sinasabi nyo ang social welfare ay nagtrabaho pero maraming pagkukulang.
May
Tama po ba?
pagkukulang po.
May
Mr.
pagkukulang.
Speaker.
You would like to qualify it by saying may pagkukulang.
Yes,
Pero
opo.
sinasabi nyo, 25 araw na ay wala pang bunga yung kanilang supposedly paghahanda. Ayun po narinig ko sa inyong delivery kanina eh. Inuulit ko lang po yung sinabi ninyo. Pero kung sinasabi nyo happy kayo sa social welfare, yun po'y karapatan ninyo.
Ang gusto ko lang pong magawa is ma-improve pa yung delivery para sa ganun mas makakapag-respond po sa pangangailangan ng ating mga kababayan.
Yung po bang National Housing Authority ay gumawa agad ng aksyon para mabigyan ang inyong probinsya, inyong distrito ng emergency housing? Dahil you mentioned the Social Welfare Department, they are not as mandated to provide emergency housing as the National Housing Authority, which is the production department of emergency housing. Nakita po ba ninyo sila roon o hindi?
After po nung typhoon, immediately namasyal po ang ating kagalang-galang na pangalawang pangulo sa Cagayan. At ewan ko lang po dahil ang nakausap niya ay mga local government units. At kaya nga po sinasabi ko dito rin sa akin pong privilege speech na isa sa mga bagay-bagay na pinagdaramdam ko po dahil mga ibang mga secretaries na nakakarating po sa probinsya, hindi po kami ini-involve na mga legislators kung nandun sila. Ang dinediretso po nila ay mga local government units at doon sila nakikipag-confer. Sana bigyan lang man tayo ng kortesiya na every time they visit a locality, they make sure that they inform the district offices of the respective legislators about their presence and the purpose of their visit to that locality.
So, Mr. Speaker, I will also ask the same question from the gentleman. Would he say that the National Housing Authority acted with dispatch and emergency housing has been provided or not? Ganun lang po kasimple yung tanong ko, and we want a clear answer.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, naintindihan ko po kasi yun, sabi ko nga, in line of communication is between the local government. But at this point in time, wala po pa akong nalalaman na meron na pong naibigay sa aking sariling pananaw, wala pa pong naibigay ang Housing Authority. So, kaya nga po, doon sa speech ko, one of the requests was that dahil ang dami naman po, even mga private employees of private employers, they are members of Pag-ibig. That's why I'm asking that a system will be made that will provide emergency loans to members of Pag-ibig for their repair of their respective houses. Kaya po, one of my suggestion, not only for Pag-ibig but for SSS and GSIS also sa mga members nila. Ang nalaman ko po, sabi nila, every time there is a calamity like this that befell any locality in the country, kailangan pa daw po ang mga papers, documents that will prove that there is disaster in a certain area, and before that, they will have it approved into their respective boards and make available calamity loans. So, yun din ang pinagtatanong ko. Pag tapos na po yung calamity, nakautang-utang ka na sa 5-6, after 3 months, 4 months, darating yung calamity loan mo, pangbayad mo. Pero, excessive na po yung nakolektang interest sa'yo. So, maganda po sana na magkaroon tayo ng sistema na ang calamity loan will be made available the soonest possible time. If it's possible, within 2 weeks that the calamity strikes, these agencies will offer calamity loans to its respective members.
For the information of everybody, ang calamity po ay maaaring harapin ng lahat ng ating mga kagawaran na ating pinag-uusapan. Social welfare, National Housing Authority, and of course, do not forget, the Office of the President. Ang ating po bang Pangulo ay nagpunta ron at nagbigay ng tulong kaagad o meron po bang pangako na may darating na tulong o wala pong aksyon hanggang ngayon?
After his arrival from China, the President visited Tuguegarao City and conferred with the different with some local government officials, especially the governors and the city mayor. So, nandun po siya at nagbigay po sila ng mga rehab funds. But I believe these rehab funds came from the regular funds of the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Social Welfare and Development. And according to a person that I talked to a while ago, meron din po daw order ang ating Pangulo to the PAGCOR na magbigay po sila ng assistance to the provinces that were affected by Typhoon Lawin. So the President was there. And I think ang naging failure lang po, Mr. Speaker, I was there during the meeting, and ang failure lang po kasi hindi ako nakapagsalita. I was not given the opportunity to talk, but I heard my governor and my mayor talk, and they thanked the President. Pero hindi po sila nanghingi ng mga additional, because I don't know what happened, whether they did the legwork with the other secretaries that were present over there noong panahon na yun. But nabanggit ko nung after the meeting, yung meeting namin with the President, that we needed his help with regards to yun pong restoration ng power in Cagayan, in the province of Cagayan, because I was very afraid that the restoration of power will take 2 months or 3 months before it will be restored, and kawawa po ang mga kababayan natin. Then I did talk also to DSWD Secretary, kaya lang yung first visit po ni Secretary ng DSWD, Tagiwalo, we were not invited. But when the President was there, she was with the President, nag-usap po kami, and I was appealing to her to immediately release yun pong ESA. And fortunately, there are announcement now that are being circulated by the media that they will be releasing 5,000 per recipient initially. Pero I don't know whether they can give the full amount of 30,000.
Without being redundant about my questions, intentions, I would like to ask the gentleman, did action take place after the President's visit? Nagkaroon po ba ng delivery ng pagkain? Delivery ng emergency housing?
I believe so.
Happy na po ba kayo ron?
Kasi dalawang perspective ito eh. Kung nanghingi po kayo at hindi po ibinigay, siyempre si Presidente, di naman niya po alam kung ano yung mga kailangan natin, because pasyal siya doon kagad, immediate yan impact, hindi pa tapos lahat ng assessment, hindi pa lahat tapos ang pag-ano ng mga damages, kaya siguro parang sabi ko nga, parang na-starstruck yung mga officials namin na nandun si Presidente na hindi po nakapagsabi ng mga pangangailangan. Pero I believe the President wanted to deliver all the necessary siguro assistance that he can give to the stricken victims of Typhoon Lawin. So, overall,
Speaker,
I believe the President did his
Mr.
best.
Speaker, I'm at a loss. The gentleman is happy with the social welfare action. On a scale of 1 to 10, he says 7 is the point for the social welfare. So therefore, pasado, sabi nga niya. The gentleman seems to be happy with the visit of the Vice President in charge of the national housing and emergency housing. So obviously, he's also happy with that. Now he says he's happy with the President's action and hopefully action is being given to the victims of the typhoon now. I am of the impression that the gentleman is happy with the action taken by the national government. But this humble representation coming from all the way from Manila is not happy. Because marami po akong kamag-anak sa Cagayan, talagang hindi po sila nakatanggap ng tulong hanggang ngayon. Kaya hindi ko po maintindihan ang mensahe ng ating colleague. Kung siya ay happy, dapat po, huwag na tayong magtalo rito. Kung hindi siya happy, magtulong-tulong tayo. Ibigay sa atensyon ng ating Pangulo yung nangyari sa Yolanda, sa Leyte, ay nangyari sa Cagayan. Bago pa mag-init ang ulo niya, ay umaksyon na siya. Narinig ko po ang Pangulo natin nung siya ay nasa sa Leyte, sa Tacloban. At yun po ay magandang ehemplo ng pinuno na nagpapagalit doon sa mga nagkukulang. Dahil hanggang ngayon, wala pang pabahay doon kumpleto at hanggang ngayon, gutom pa rin ang nananaig. Ayoko mangyari sa Cagayan, yun nangyari sa Tacloban. So, with the permission of my dear colleague, I will take up the issue publicly with the President para tignan niya ano ang nangyayari sa Cagayan.
Maraming
upang
salamat
matulungan
po.
natin ang ating mga kababayan doon. Otherwise, this message will come to naught. The message should be delivered to the President because he's the one who can do something about the plight of the Cagayanons. Dahil kung hindi po natin gigisingin ang gobyerno, paulit-ulit na lamang tayo. Pag may bagyo, merong reklamo, merong hindi nabibigyan ng tulong, merong namamatay ng gutom, walang bubungan, at biktima ng lahat ng elemento ng panahon. It's about time. Rather than Congress is awakened to reality, I think we should awake all the departments in charge of taking care of our people's needs in times of emergency. Doon po tayo manawagan sa kanila sapagkat anuman ang gusto natin dito, wala tayong magagawa. Pero pag si Secretary Tagiwalo ay napansin ng ating Pangulo, palagay ko, magigising siya sa katotohanan. Pag ang ating Vice Presidente ay umaaksyon pag mayroong pangangailangan, ay palagay ko ay maliligayahan tayo sa kanya. At kung ang ating Pangulo ay gagawa ng ibang paraan upang hindi siya magaya sa ibang mga Pangulo, katulad nung nakaraan, insensitive, and he didn't care about the people's plight. Wala siyang pakialam, nangyari yung mamasapano, wala siyang pakialam na nangyari ang mga sakuna, sapagkat wala siyang pakialam sa ating lahat. Naniniwala ako, si Pangulong Duterte, iba dito sa nakaraang Pangulong ito. Kaya doon tayo manawagan sa kanya. Baka may mangyari dito sa privilege speech yun. Otherwise, it will just go into the records of this Congress and the Cagayanons will still be hungry and homeless in the next year. Probably on the anniversary of Typhoon Lawin, the gentleman from Cagayan will again deliver a privilege speech to remind everybody that nothing is being done in Cagayan. I'd like to thank the graciousness of the gentleman for having helped me clarify my mind and help us appreciate the truth of what's going on when we have disasters and calamities such as what befell Cagayan in the last month or so. Maraming salamat. Distinguished Congressman from Cagayan, thank you, Majority Floor Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for listening to our exchange.
Thank you very much. Nakahanap din kayo ng katapat ho nyo. Mahaba rin ho magsalita sa microphone. Majority Leader.
Kaligayahan ko po.
Mr. Speaker, there being another member who wishes to interpolate the Honorable Randolph Teng, I move that the privileged speech of the Honorable Randolph Teng, together with his interpellation, be referred to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
There's a motion to refer the speech of the Honorable Ting, Committee on Rules. Hearing no objection, the motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
We would like
Was
to
there a memo issued regarding our
Mr. Speaker,
the caller of the day? I see Congresswoman Swansing and Berga and Barsaga all wearing the same collar, together with Congresswoman Aragones. Are we supposed to wear that collar for today? Was there such a memo?
No, we don't have one, Your
No
Honor.
memo.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are they a singing group?
No, it's not. No, they're not, Your Honor.
So what is the pleasure now, Majority Leader?
Mr. Speaker, we would like to recognize the guests of Honorable Nancy Catamco. We have from Colombia, Peace Panel Indigenous Sector. We have Mr. Marino Cordoba, Mr. Luis Fernando Arias, Mr. Jimena Sanchez Garzoli, Mr. Marco Mizera, and Miss Paula Fernandez.
Your presence is noted. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We also have a group of local IP delegates from Mindanao, from Region 11, Davao Region, headed by Dato Joel Unad, and from Cotabato, we have Mr. Santos Onsat. They are all the head of the delegates, Your Honor.
We take note of your presence. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of order. Let me preface my point of order, Mr. Speaker, by reading into the records Section 80, Paragraph 8 of the House Rules, which says, let me quote, unassigned business, quote, bills, resolutions, and other measures reported out by the committee, but not calendared for second reading by the Committee on Rules, may be included in the calendar of unassigned business. Any business included in the calendar may be set for consideration on motion of a member with the unanimous approval of the House, provided that it shall be included in the calendar of business at least 2 days prior to such consideration, unquote. The subject matter of this particular provision in the House Rules are committee reports that have already been released by the appropriate committees and transmitted to the Committee on Rules. However, these reports are not yet calendared for discussion on the floor. That's why they are called unassigned business. The reason that I'm rising here on a point of order, because as far as I can recall, looking at the daily calendar of business or order of business that I received during every session, I cannot recall of any entry for the calendar of unassigned business. Now, this is important in the rules, Mr. Speaker, because this will give an advance warning to the members of the House on committee reports that are now in the Rules Committee awaiting to be discussed on the floor. Now, in particular, Mr. Speaker, in my case, I'm interested on the committee report that has come out of the Committee on Constitutional Amendments regarding the draft resolution to constitute Congress as a constituent assembly to propose amendments to the Constitution. That's one. Number two, although I understand there is no committee report of that sort yet, I'm interested on what may be expected from the Committee on Ways and Means regarding a proposal that may be included in such a report to remove certain exemptions granted by law to senior citizens. So I'm rising on a point of order because I would like to bring to the attention to this point of order to the leadership that reports pending in the committee on rules, especially on important measures such as the proposed draft resolution to constitute Congress into a constituent assembly, should be placed in the calendar of unassigned business.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, of course we understand the point of order of the gentleman from Samar, but as of now there are no committee reports yet submitted to the committee, to the Rules Committee, and under our rules, all committee reports which are approved by the different committees shall pass in the Committee of Rules for us to calendar it in the floor. So we appreciate very much your concern, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker. But as of now, all committee reports that has been submitted to the Committee on Rules have been scheduled already here at the floor.
Well, I was just informed just some about 15 or 20 minutes ago
Yes.
that the report that has come out of the Committee on Constitutional Amendments regarding the draft resolution to constitute Congress as a constituent assembly is already in the hands of the Committee on Rules, and yet I don't see any calendar of assigned business here. If I may mention it, I spoke with the distinguished chairman of the Committee on Constitutional Amendments, and just about 20 or 30 minutes ago informed me when I asked about this report that it is now in the Committee on Rules, and I look at the order of business. I don't see any calendar of unassigned business regarding this report. And I know that several other reports have come to the Committee on Rules and they're not immediately brought to the floor because they're being reviewed by the Committee on Rules. So my simple point of order is that reports that are pending in the Committee on Rules should be listed in the calendar of unassigned business so that the members of the House who are interested in any particular measure should be prepared in advance and be here on the floor to participate when the report is brought to the floor. But in particular, I can see that the distinguished chairman of the Committee on Constitutional Amendments is here, and I'm sure he will confirm that he informed me when I asked him about 20 minutes ago that the report that has come out of his committee is now with the Committee on Rules.
Mr. Chairman,
Majority Leader.
Mr. Chairman, we appreciate very much the concern of the gentleman from so that we can have order in the House. But perhaps he has been misinformed. As of now, I have called for the chairman of the Committee on Rules for the Secretariat, the COMSEC, and I have asked him if there are any pending committee hearings with us, and he said that we have scheduled it here. We have the chairman also here of the Committee on Constitutional Amendments, and he says that there is no committee report yet. It has a draft bill, but it has not yet been finished, and he has not yet submitted it to the Committee on Rules, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
So perhaps you were misinformed. The committee chairman is here. Sir Chairman, may I ask for a 1 minute suspension?
1 minute suspension. Huwag mo tanggalin. Awan daw, awan, awan. Session resumed. Congressman Daza.
Mr. Speaker, during the interregno of a few minutes, the majority leader explained to me that what was submitted was just a draft report. Well, the problem must have been in our communication, because when I spoke to the chairman of the Committee on Constitutional Amendments, I spoke to him in Bisaya, and the word draft has no translation in Visayan. So in which case, however, Mr. Speaker, I would like to anticipate and put on record the fact that when this important piece of report passes, is already the formal report, that is, will have been already in the hands of the Committee on Rules. And if the Committee on Rules would not yet feel that it is timely to bring it to the floor, that in the interim, it be listed in the calendar of unassigned business.
We agree, Mr. Chairman. Duly noted.
Yes. Thank you for
Mr.
your kind
Speaker.
reminder, Congressman Daza.
Thank
Majority
you,
Leader,
Mr. Majority Leader.
May I
are there no pending, no committee reports have
There
been
are no
submitted?
pending committee reports because usually, Mr. Chairman, if there are committee reports and we see that it is not yet appropriate for second reading, then the Committee on Rules sends it back to the mother committee for a final review before it comes back, so that in the floor it will be easy. It will be easy to pass it on the floor.
Thank you. Kahit yung sa sa Committee on Justice, yung sa Bilibid na investigation, wala pa?
Tapos na ho, dito.
Na-approve ba na?
Tapos na mo. It's already finished.
It's been submitted to the floor?
Yes, Mr.
Na-approve ba na? Thank you. So, Majority Leader?
May I move now that we recognize the gentleman from the 3rd District of Leyte, the Honorable Representative Vicente Sopronio Veloso, for his privileged speech with regards to the affidavit of the late Mayor Rolando Espinosa.
Congressman Veloso is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege. It is personal because it appeared in media reports the last few days that I am a protector of Kerwin Espinosa, thus besmirching my reputation. It is collective because the malicious and libelous imputation has affected the name and honor of this institution. Worse, an insinuation has already been made at the Senate hearing last Thursday, November 10 of this year, that the killing of Albuera Leyte Mayor Rolando Espinosa on November 5, 2016, was masterminded by some of those mentioned in Mayor Espinosa's August 24, 2016 and October 3, 2016 judicial affidavits. Let me assure you, Mr. Speaker, and my dear colleagues, that I am not a protector of Kerwin Espinosa, and I could not have even wished the death of Mayor Espinosa. Let me cite the circumstances on time and distance that made it impossible for me to serve as protector of the Espinosas. Let me point out prefatory that I do not know nor have met the Espinosas. I could not likewise have given them protection because from 1972 up to the time I retired from the Court of Appeals last year, only last year, 2015, I was based in Manila. In hindsight, I was a Manila-based Court of Appeals Justice from 2004 to 2015. That's 11 years. A Manila-based Commissioner of the NLRC from 1989 to 2004. That's long, 15 years. Without gap for even a day as I transferred from the NLRC to the Court of Appeals in Manila. Could I have influenced judges in Leyte when I was Court of Appeals Justice from 2004 to 2015? The answer is no, Mr. Speaker. Under the law, our jurisdiction was limited to cases in Metro Manila and Luzon. Leyte was under the exclusive jurisdiction of Court of Appeals Cebu. Besides, in addition to my being an NLRC Commissioner and Court of Appeals Justice for the past 26 years or 27 years now, I was teaching law in Ateneo School of Law for over 20 years, and 2 years of that from 2012 to 2014 in UP Law. And I was also a pre-bar reviewer of both Ateneo and UP Law for over 10 years. Since I had no time to even visit my folks in Leyte, I obviously would have no time to meet and act as protector of a young man named Kerwin. The affidavits of Mayor Espinosa do not have probative value in law. Let me emphasize that, Mr. Speaker. What the late Mayor Rolando Espinosa executed in August 24, 2016 and October 3, 2016 are judicial affidavits. Pertinently, the Supreme Court on September 4, 2012 issued AM number 12-8-8 SC, the so-called judicial affidavit rule. Section 3 of that rule mandates a judicial affidavit shall be prepared in the language known to the witness, and if not in English or Filipino, accompanied by a translation in English or Filipino. Note that the subject affidavits were prepared in English, not the language known to Mayor Rolando Espinosa, who, by the way, barely finished, per local media reports, elementary. To comply with Section 3 of the Judicial Affidavit Rule, the affidavit should have been prepared in Cebuano, the dialect of Albuera Leyte Mayor Espinosa. With Section 10 of the Judicial Affidavit Rule providing, letter C, the court shall not admit as evidence judicial affidavits that do not conform to the requirements of Section 3. These judicial affidavits prepared in English are therefore inadmissible in evidence. They do not legally bind me, and unaffected by said affidavits, I would not have any reason to wish the mayor death. The August 24, 2016 judicial affidavit of the late Mayor Espinosa do not bear facts that would make me a protector of Kerwin. The August 24, 16 affidavit of Mayor Espinosa pertinently reads, and may I have that flashed? There is question 28. Now, Mayor Roland, your son Kerwin's illegal drug activities in the region proliferated. Do you know if there are certain persons and officials of government who are protecting these illegal drug activities of your son? The answer of Mayor Espinosa, yes, sir. There are government officials who are protecting these illegal activities. Question 29. Do you know who are these government officials who are serving as protectors of this illegal drug activity of your son Kerwin? The answer is yes. Question 30. Can you name them? It is flashed, Mr. Speaker. The answer was yes, based on the pocket notebook in my possession and based on my own personal knowledge. Kailan pa siya nagkaroon ng personal knowledge? The protectors are DOJ Secretary Laila de Lima, etc., and named therein, included in the enumeration, was Ching Veloso, quote unquote. The aforequoted portions of the affidavit do not explain how and why Representative Vicente Ching Veloso is the same Ching Veloso included in the enumeration of names in answer to question 30. Neither do they show the circumstances under which Mayor Espinosa acquired the facts upon which he included the name Ching Veloso. Yet, Section 3D of the 2012 Judicial Affidavit Rule mandates that questions asked of the witness and corresponding answers must be consecutively numbered, that number 1, show the circumstances under which the witness acquired the facts upon which he testifies. These are absent in the affidavit. On another ground, therefore, pursuant to Section 10C of the Judicial Affidavit Rule, the affidavits of Mayor Espinosa are inadmissible in evidence. Mayor Espinosa's October 3, 2016 supplemental affidavit is likewise bereft of any allegation that Representative Vicente Veloso is Kerwin's protector. On October 3, 2016, or almost 2 months after his August 24, 2016 affidavit, Mayor Espinosa allegedly executed a supplemental affidavit in answer to question 56. And please note, Mayor Espinosa allegedly stated, medyo tabingi. Pakiayos lang yung flash. Question 56. What about this Ching Veloso? Do you know him personally? And would you know him if he had any connection or participation to the illegal drug activities of Roland Kerwin Espinosa? The answer, I know him, sir, as the newly elected congressman of the 3rd District of Leyte and as a former Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals. During that time, when my son Roland Kerwin Espinosa confided me about his illegal drug activities, he told me that he requested and encourages my son's private armed group to, baligtad and grammatical, to utilized by him to kill anyone which will obstruct his winning as the congressman of the 3rd District, election 2016, and in the same manner, Kerwin was giving protection money or payola to the said person. I can use this, Mr. Speaker, in defense of my name. Perusing said answer, it already appears that I am not Kerwin's drug protector. Assuming for the sake of argument that I knew or met Kerwin, which I vehemently deny as a matter of fact, at best, my participation was limited to my requesting Kerwin to lend me his, quote, private armed group, unquote, to ensure my, quote, winning as the congressman of 3rd District election 2016, unquote. There is nothing mentioned about drugs. Even my allegedly asking favor from Kerwin to lend me his private armed group puts me away from being Kerwin's protector. It is under the allegation, it is Kerwin who is my protector, as I am borrowing from him armed groups, and for which reason it is I who should be giving protection money or payola to Kerwin. On both grounds, Mr. Speaker, the affidavit of Mayor Espinosa is already wrong. All told, Mayor Espinosa's affidavits have not validly implemented me as protector of Kerwin, especially so that in the third paragraph and in the third affidavit, rather, dated September 7, 2016, which I attached as Annex C to this privileged speech, accountant witness Verbeca Diano did not mention my name as protector of Kerwin. Remember, this accountant allegedly is the possessor of the notebooks. But in her affidavit, which I attached as Annex C, she never mentioned the name of Ching Veloso, much less Representative Vicente Veloso, as part of the illegal activities of Kerwin. In any case, Mr. Speaker, the alleged twin affidavits of Mayor Espinosa are hearsay. Sabi ni Kerwin, sabi ni Verbeca, yung accountant. Section 36, Rule 130 of the Rules of Court provides, a witness can testify only to those facts which he knows of his personal knowledge, that is, which are derived from his own perception, except as otherwise provided in these rules, meaning the exceptions to the hearsay rule. Thus, testimonies or facts beyond the affiant's personal knowledge are perception or hearsay. Let me cite you, Mr. Speaker, the recent ruling of the Supreme Court in People of the Philippines versus Aniceto Estibal, November 26, 2014. In Paula versus People, the court rendered a helpful disquisition on hearsay evidence, why it must be rejected and treated as inadmissible, and how it can be avoided. To elucidate why the prosecutor's hearsay evidence was unreliable and trustworthy, and thus devoid of probative value, reference is made to Section 36 of Rule 130, Rules of Court, emphasizing the need that a witness can testify only to those facts which he knows of his personal knowledge, that is, which are derived from his own perception. Let me proceed, Mr. Speaker. My inclusion in Major Espinosa's affidavits are politically motivated. Madali kasing sabihin, politically motivated. But these are documented allegations, Mr. Speaker. Mayor Espinosa's answer to question 56 of his supplemental affidavit reminds me of ex-Representative Andres Salvacion, your former colleague here. On record at the National Police Commission is a complaint against CIDG personnel executed by Joel R. Dehon, who is a detention prisoner at Carigara Leyte Sub-Provincial Jail. The complaint is docketed as NAPOLCOM SD case number 2016-010, and paragraph thereof reads as follows. On June 10, 2015, respondent CIDG Angay-Angay came to visit complainant. He was asked by Angay-Angay to serve as a state witness in the killing of Larazabal. This is the vice mayor of my town, Villaba, who was murdered in November 2014. He was asked by Angay-Angay to serve as a state witness in the killing of Larazabal and was offered a huge amount if he would implicate retired Justice of the Court of Appeals, Vicente Veloso, among other intended masterminds. Angay-Angay showed complainant an envelope of money and assured the latter not to worry, as he would be protected by respondent CIDG Regional Director Masauding and Leyte 3rd District Congressman Andres Salvacion. Instantly, the complainant had a flashback of those times when he was still detained at the CIDG Regional Office in Tacloban City. Respondent Masauding would keep on convincing complainant to implicate Justice Veloso as mastermind in the killing of Larazabal. Aware now that in October 2015, Justice Veloso would be running against Leyte Mayor Maria Victoria Salvacion David, the daughter of Congressman Salvacion, as Congressman of the 3rd District of Leyte, and noting as well that complainant, an effective campaigner of Leyte ex-Mayor Noli Isidoro, who will be running against Congressman Salvacion as Mayor of Leyte, this October 2015, because Congressman Salvacion's term will expire in June 2016, it now is clear that complainant's warrantless arrest on November 30, 2014 was politically motivated. The respondents had to use complainant as a fall guy to partly paralyze the campaign of ex-Mayor Noli Isidoro, and they had to offer complainant a huge amount of money to taint the reputation of retired Justice Veloso, so as to give Congressman Salvacion's daughter an edge in the forthcoming congressional election. These are facts on record at the NAPOLCOM. Certified true copy of that complaint is attached as Annex D to this privileged speech, Mr. Speaker. Police Senior Inspector Elvis Angay-Angay submitted his counter affidavit dated 14 August 2015. Please see Annex F hereof to this privileged speech. But note, Mr. Speaker, never did Angay-Angay dispute the aforequoted allegation of complainant Joel R. Dehon. Perusing again Mayor Espinosa's answer to question 56, no other malicious person could have thought of including my name to the groundless and fatally defective affidavits of Mayor Espinosa. Ex-Congressman Andres Salvacion qualifies. It is not me, but ex-Congressman Andres Salvacion who qualifies and could have been the protector of Kerwin Espinosa. Important to a person's being a protector are, number one, his being close to the party being protected, and number two, his being a powerful and influential person in the area where the person being protected resides. These are absent in my case, as I do not know Kerwin Espinosa, I do not know his father, Mayor Rolando Espinosa. I never met them since my birth, nor have I ever transacted business with them. Comparatively, Mr. Speaker, based on facts herein discussed, ex-Representative Andres Salvacion qualifies as protector of Kerwin. He is reputed in the 3rd and 4th districts of Leyte as close to Kerwin Espinosa. He uses the fighting cocks of Kerwin in derbies and sometimes gets money from Kerwin during derbies. He too has enormous influence over the military and police authorities in the area. The last, his having influence over military and police authorities in the area, is exemplified by the following events, Mr. Speaker. Before and during the May 9, 2016 election, my leaders and followers were harassed by the PNP and military, courtesy of former Congressman Andres Salvacion. Movements of my leaders were curtailed. PNP and military personnel erected checkpoints in vital routes in all municipalities of the 3rd District of Leyte, both day and night. The PNP did not spare even an unrelated agencies such as the Highway Patrol Group in electoral harassments. To emphasize, Mr. Speaker, on May 7, 2016, at about 8 p.m., personnel of the Regional Highway Unit of Region 8, led by PCI Jerry Noel Go Docente, harassed electorates in San Isidro Leyte. After the election, Police Superintendent Conrado Villanueva, the regional head of the Regional Highway Patrol Group in Region 8, interceded in Docente's behalf, pleading to spare him of criminal and administrative charges. At the meeting which we had in San Isidro, Leyte, Police Superintendent Villanueva narrated to me his unfortunate experience with Andro Salvacion, the son of then incumbent Congressman Andres Salvacion. He explained that before the May 9, 2016 election, his group apprehended Andro's vehicle loaded with private and group and high-powered firearms. All that Andrew did was to call his father. And he escaped apprehension and criminal charges because of the intervention of Congressman Salvacion, who even berated the apprehending officer, Police Superintendent Conrado Villanueva. This, by the way, Mr. Speaker, is the same Andrew Salvacion, the son of former Congressman Andres Salvacion, who now has a criminal case in Palompon, Leyte for his harassing, disturbing the canvassing of election results in Barangay Tabunok, Villaba, Leyte on May 10, 2016. Andrew Salvacion, in that harassment operation, was accompanied by police and military personnel with long firearms. Now, who can be the protector of Kerwin? I never had the influence as a candidate against the daughter of Andres Salvacion. The incumbent Andres Salvacion had the power and influence over the military and the police. He too was in a position to protect Carwin. Now, let me point out, Mr. Speaker, that the inclusion of my name in Mayor Espinosa's affidavits were part of Dagdag Bawas operation, and these are documented, Mr. Speaker. Note that per media reports, 226 were included in Mayor Espinosa's affidavits as protectors, but only 47 were charged. Why? The Albuera police officers, assisted obviously by a lawyer as the affidavits were in legal language and form, prepared the affidavits of Mayor Espinosa. They had to include 226 persons in their list in order that they can extort money from them as consideration for their being dropped from the affidavits. For example, in Mayor Espinosa's August 24, 2016 affidavit, he included in his answer to question 30, if we could have it flashed again, the name of Andres Cruz as one of Kerwin's protectors. That name, Andres Cruz, appeared close to the name of Ching Veloso. However, on October 13, 2016, after executing that August 24, 2016 affidavit, Mayor Espinosa again executed another sworn statement attesting to the fact that the said Andres C. Cruz is not involved in any illegal activity. Please flash the affidavit of Mayor Espinosa dated October 13. Yan, may panibago. Paano mangyayari? In question 30, where my name and Andres Cruz's name appeared, we were supposed to be protectors. Pagkatapos, October 13, biglang sasabihin ni Espinosa, hindi pala protector si Andres Cruz. This is proof of bawas. Also, in Sinumpaang Salaysay, dated November 10, 2016, Galo Stephen Roberto Ivero explained. Stephen Roberto Ivero explained that his October 3, 2016 affidavit was prepared by police officers. Heidi Utrago, a policewoman of Albuera Leyte, and Jovi Espinido, the Chief of Police of Albuera Leyte. These are in paragraphs 4 and 5 of a state witness supposed to be Galo Stephen Roberto, dated November 10, 2016. Note, he claims that when he was investigated before that date, he implicated only 3 police officers as recipients of payola, namely Manalo and Vanyo of CIDG at Regional Office Number 8, and Habines, former Chief of Police of Albuera Leyte. However, when they were brought on October 3, 2016 by Jovi Espinido and Jaime Utrago and other police officers of Albuera, together with Max Miro and Mayor Espinosa, to Tacloban City to have them notarized, he was surprised to note that many other police officers were already implicated. From 3, naging 33 ang protectors ng mga police ni Mayor Espinosa and Kerwin. Worse, even the notebook was doctored. That affidavit tells us that a Xerox copy of the alleged notebook was already presented as evidence during the investigation at the Regional Internal Affairs Service, RIAS, at PNP Regional Office. This is in paragraph 8 of his affidavit, as part of their Dagdag Bawas operation. So, what we have here, Mr. Speaker, are 2 affidavits, one proving that out of the names included in the August 24 affidavit of Mayor Espinosa, Andres Cruz was deleted, and out of only few police officers, isinama 30 more police officers. Mr. Speaker, Fortunately, I was cleared by PNP Region 8 Regional Director Elmer Beltihar, and such is supported by the fact that I was not included among those charged for being protectors of Kerwin Espinosa. Let me explain, Mr. Speaker. Few days before we had our recess this October 2016, PNP Regional Director Elmer Beltihar had a courtesy call with us, congressmen of Region 8. In said meeting, and in the presence of all congressmen of Region 8, except of course Congressman Raul Daza, who was absent, I categorically asked, in the presence of Region 8 congressman, I asked Regional Director Beltihar if they had proof that I was a protector of Kerwin Espinosa. His answer was, quote, "Wag mo nang pansinin yan, sir. Lahat ng intelligence reports sa Region 8 tell us that you are not a protector of Kerwin," unquote. Supporting such clearance is the fact that while 33 police officers, 7 government officers, and 7 private individuals have already been sued criminally and administratively in batches before the Office of the Ombudsman, the Prosecutor's Office, and the PNP RIAS, to date, no charge has been filed against me in any outside government agencies. Let me point out, Mr. Speaker, that I will pursue my anti-illegal drug advocacy. When I ran for Congress last May 2016, my peace and order platform involved a heavy anti-drug campaign. Also, since my term in Congress started, over 2,000 drug addicts in the 3rd District of Leyte have already surrendered through my efforts. In my desire to solve this drug problem, I organized Catholic Life in the Spirit seminars to rehabilitate surrenderies, as we do not have yet drug rehabilitation centers. I am a charismatic, katulad po ni Congressman Crisologo. Muntik kami nagpang-abot sa Kawayan, Isabela. And I intend to have a drug rehabilitation center in Calubian. In my first 3 months in Congress, I have spearheaded activities that will not only rehabilitate drug addicts in our district. I too, in coordination with PDEA, have put anti-drug enforcement programs in the area. As proof of my anti-drug advocacy, Mr. Speaker, as further proof, you know the role I played in the congressional inquiry into New Bilibid prison proliferation of drugs. In fact, Mr. Speaker, itong bansag na drug protector pala ko ni Kerwin, parang naalala ko si J.B. Sebastian. Parang sinasabi ng mga tao, protector din pala ako ni J.B. Sebastian. This, Mr. Speaker, has affected me a lot. Kanina, nag-usap kami ng COMSEC namin sa Judicial Committee. Tinanong ko, ano kaya kung mag-resign ako? My family never supported my candidacy. When I filed my certificate of candidacy last October 2015, I had no wife nor children with me. Mag-isa lang po ako, kasama yung mga leaders ko. Now, naging totoo yung sinabi nila. Papa, huwag kang sumali sa politika. Madudungisan lang ang pangalan mo. Nadungisan ang pangalan ko at biktima ang mga anak ko. Umiiyak sila. Paano nangyari? I ask God, why? Katulad ni Pope Francis, hindi niya masagot kung bakit nagkaroon kami ng Yolanda sa Tacloban. Mr. Speaker, I do not know what to do. On the one hand, I am helpless pagdating sa pagsisira ng pangalan ko. On the other hand, I want to serve this institution. That would be all, Mr. Speaker, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Congressman Veloso. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the gentleman from Una Ang Edukasyon, the Honorable Bong Belaro, for his interpellation.
Gentleman is recognized.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. May I inquire, Mr. Speaker, if the Honorable Congressman from Leyte be amenable to some interpolating queries in aid of legislation, Mr. Speaker?
Willingly, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Congressman from Leyte. First of all, Mr. Speaker, kindly allow this representation to express his commiseration with the representative from Leyte on the ongoing media publicity about his travails. This is a situation we should not take very lightly, because this could happen to anybody. In the short time that I have known the gentleman from Leyte, in fact, as a personal friend, I could attest to the veracity of his character, to his irreproachable dignity, and that his record is beyond question. And especially as a member of the bar, I could attest that he has reached his position as an Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals because of his unquestionable integrity. And that is why it is quite disheartening and unfair for the gentleman from Leyte to be ascribed and be intertwined in such media publicity, which is quite an anomaly in our democracy. But in the midst of all these ongoings, Mr. Speaker, we should remind ourselves as members of this august body that at the very least, we live in a democracy, and as a basic premise in any democratic society is the rule of law. That is why before even ascribing to any myth being propagated, we should first question the legal admissibility of the evidence being propounded against my dear friend here. So, Mr. Speaker, by way of introduction, I would address two queries in these two areas. First is to the legal admissibility of the evidence being used against the gentleman from Leyte. And second is to the legal implications of those who are responsible, especially with respect to the custody of the prisoner before his death. First question, Mr. Speaker. My first question is that a while ago, the distinguished gentleman from Leyte already discussed the nature of hearsay evidence. But if I may just add, there is also a ruling of the Supreme Court that an affidavit which has never been presented in court also constitutes hearsay evidence. So my question is to the distinguished gentleman from Leyte is that, as a legal luminary, do you agree with this ruling?
It is, yes, Mr. Speaker, it is an elementary rule in law that an affidavit is nothing unless the affiant has been tested by a cross-examination.
My second question, Mr. Speaker, is with respect to the rule in evidence which is referred to as dying declaration. I think some members of the media are quite misinformed, because to constitute a dying declaration, there are certain elements which should be met. Now, and in this regard, I think the affidavit does not meet the element of consciousness of impending death. The question, Mr. Speaker, to the gentleman from Leyte is that, do you agree with this observation?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. The affidavits of Mayor Espinosa were dated August 24, 2016, and his supplemental judicial affidavit was dated October 3, 2016. He was killed only on November 5 of this year. He executed those affidavits not in a state of almost to die person, but you would note, Mr. Speaker, that as stated in the affidavit of Stephen, anyway, I mentioned that a while ago, This was prepared by Chief of Police Utrago, Jovi Spinido, and a certain Heidi Utrago, Mr. Speaker. So, in short, they do not constitute dying declaration. These rather were malicious fabrication of no less than officers of the Albuera Leyte, officers over whom we are paying our salaries. Or their salaries, rather, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished gentleman from Leyte. My last question, Mr. Speaker, relates to the legal implication surrounding the circumstances of the death of Mayor Espinosa. And that is, I would like to pinpoint to the fact that he was in custody during his death. My question is that, to the distinguished gentleman from Leyte, is that, is there, under tort law or any other relevant laws, what is the responsibility of the officials who are in custody of Mayor Espinosa?
Let me just point out, Mr. Speaker, I find it strange that Mayor Espinosa surrendered to the police authorities as early as August 3. His house was raided and a lot of firearms as well as shabu were confiscated. In my recollection, under Section 6, Rule 112 of the Rules of Court, Mayor Espinosa should have already been incarcerated at that time. Inquest proceedings should have already been conducted, and Mayor Espinosa should have stayed in jail, either in Baybay or Baybay, because it has the jurisdiction over the case. But take note, Mr. Speaker, Mayor Espinosa was allowed to function as a mayor of Albuera after the raid of his house, and I would assume that Mayor Espinosa was a victim either of extortion or bribery. Well, I would assume that in his desire that he not be incarcerated, he had to bribe the chief of police, Jovi Espinido. On the other hand, Jovi Espinido, taking advantage of the mental framework of Mayor Espinosa, had to make Mayor Espinosa believe, pag hindi ka sumunod sa akin, mamamatay ka. Make a comparison, Mr. Speaker, on the character of Mayor Espinosa and his son, Kerwin. At one point, at one time, Mr. Speaker, I saw Mayor Espinosa crying, pleading to his son, mag-surrender ka na para maging matino ang ating buhay. On the other hand, Kerwin did not heed the advice, nagpunta pa sa labas ng Pilipinas, abroad. Looking at that, and especially kung makikita mo sa TV, the first time na nakita ko ito si Jovi Espinido na nagsalita sa TV, kumindat pa siya. Oh, Kerwin, papatayin kita, mag-surrender ka na sa akin. Naka-smile. Now, who is Kerwin? Who is Jovi Espinido? In that November 7 Inquirer News sa internet, sinabi na mismo ni Kerwin Espinosa, after namatay ang tatay niya, after siya humagulhol, itong Jovi Espinido ay aking protector. In fact, before he was assigned to Albuera, pulis ito si Espinido sa Davao. And as late as that time, si Kerwin ang nagbibigay ng payola kay Jovi Espinido. Ito ang Chief of Police, Mr. Speaker, who claims na illegal ang raid ng CIDG. Ngunit ang lumalabas po na balita sa Ormoc and in Leyte. Away ito ng mga pulis. While on the one hand, ang CIDG was trying to enforce the law, itong si Job Espinido gusto niya na nasa custody pa rin niya si Mayor Espinosa. In fact, ngayon lang ako nakarinig ng Chief of Police who would ask the Regional Trial Court of Baybay na ibalik sa kanya ang custody. Why? Para patuloy ang buhay-buhay niya? Mr. Speaker, I hope that answers the question of my good friend.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to, this representation would like to thank the distinguished gentleman from Leyte for acceding to the questions. And I think we should all be reminded, this, after all, this is still a rule of law. And especially, my good friend here is just responding to the rule of evidence that an objection should be timely raised. Because if you do not raise it at the proper time, just at, like this opportunity, he is forever barred from doing so. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, one last point. Nung lumabas ang pangalan ko sa internet, November 5, gusto ko na talaga mag-privilege speech dito. But I was prevailed by wiser people. Kakalat lang yan. Lalong madidiin ka. And I recall the advice of Congressman Ako. There will always be an opportune time for that. Last Thursday, napangalanan na ako pagkawalang swerte. Nagtanong si Senator Soto ng question, bakit pinatay? Bakit mo ninyo ni-raid ang Baybay? Bakit hindi ka nagpaalam sa mga provincial jail guards sa Baybay Provincial Jail? Ang sagot nito si Laraga, yung provincial jail guards are local jail guards. May influence ang mga local politicians. Pinilit ni Senator Soto, ibigay mo mga pangalan, walang swerte. 4 ang narinig kong binigay na pangalan. Governor Pitilla, Vice Governor Loreto, Vicente Ching Veloso, Congressman ng 3rd District of Leyte, at si Richard Gomez. Napakawalang swerte namin. With that, biglang sumabog ang balita. Protector pala ito si Congressman Veloso ni Kerwin. With that, Mr. Speaker, no choice na po ako. I have to deliver as I delivered my previous speech. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, before we recognize the next interpellator, I move that we suspend the period of interpellation.
There's a motion to suspend the period of interpellation. No objection. The motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we call the roll.
There's a motion to call the roll. No objection. The motion is carried. Secretary General.
Roll call of members, honorable representatives. Abad, Abaya, Abayon, Abilianosa, Abu, Abueg, Acharon, Akop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adjong, Advincula, Agaraw, Agabaw, Aglipay Bilyar, Albano, Alcala, Alejano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte Naguiat, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Andaya, Angara Castillo, Antonino, Antonio, Aragones, Arbizon, Arcillas, Arenas, Atienza, Aumentado, Bagaw, Bagaching, Bagilat, Banal, Barbers, Barsaga, Batawil, Batucabe, Bautista Bandigan, Belaro, Belmonte Feliciano, Belmonte Jose Christopher, Belmonte Ricardo, Benitez, Bernos, Bertiz, Biason, Billones, Biron, Bulilia, Bundok, Bordado, Bravo Anthony, Bravo Marabida, Brosas, Bulot Bigtang, Cagas, Calderon, Calix Rubiano, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cari, Casilaw, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Redenil, Catamco, Cayetano, Celeste, Serafica, Cirilles, Chavez, Chupeco, Cobanco, Juliantes, Cortés, Cortuna, Cosalan, Crisólogo, Cuba, Quaresma, Cueva, Dalipe, Dalog, Dasa, De Jesus, De Venecia, De Vera, Defensor, Del Mar, Del Rosario, De Los Montalia, Di Maporo Abdullah, Di Maporo Khalid, Duavit, Durano, Di, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Eusebio, Ibardone, Fariñas, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Ferriol, Floirendo, Flores, Fortuno, Pentebelia, Garbin, Garcia Gwendolyn, Garcia Jose, Garcia Albano, Gary Richard, Gary Sharon, Gasataya, Gachelian, Heron, Go Ana Cristina, Go Mark, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Alexandria, Gonzales Aurelio Dong, Gonzales Fernando, Goriseta, Gulyas, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Halusos, Javier, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lagman, Lanete, Laugan, Lasatin, Liachon, Lee, Lim Kay Chong, Lobrigat, Lopez Benhur, Lopez Manuel, Lopez Carlo, Loyola, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Manalo, Mangawang, Mangutodato Suharto, Mangutodato Sajid, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariño, Marquez, Martinez, Matugas, Miliana, Mending, Mercado, Mirasol, Montoro, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Carlo, Nolasco, Núñez Maleñaon, Huaminal, Ocampo, Olivares, Ong Edwin, Ong Henry, Ortega Pablo, Ortega Vini, Pacquiao, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panganiban, Panotes, Papandayan, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Primicia Sagabas, Kimbo, Radasa, Ramirez Sato, Ramos, Relampagos, Revilla, Roapuno, Robes, Rocamora, Rodriguez Isidro, Rodriguez Maximo, Roman, Romero, Romualdez, Romualdo, Roque Hari, Roque Rogelio, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sahali, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Salon, Sambar, Sandoval, Santos Recto, Sarmiento Cesar, Sarmiento Edgar, Savillano, Sema, Xiao, Silverio, Singson, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez, Si Alvarado, Tambunting, Tan Angelina, Tan Milagrosa, Tan Sherney, Tejada, Teves, Chanco, Ting, Tiño, Tolentino, Treñas, Tugna, Tupas, Turabi Nataman, Ti, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Unico, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Uy Barreta, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Vilarde, Velasco, Velasco Catera, Veloso, Vergara, Villapuerte, Villanueva, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villarin, Villago, Yap Artur, Yap Melesio, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Marcarmen, Zamora Ronaldo, Sarate, Subiri. The speaker is present. Mr. Speaker, the roll call shows that 219 members responded to the call.
With 219 present, the chair declares a quorum. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, since the Journal of the House of Representatives in the Journal number 43 last Monday, November 14 is already distributed, I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal.
There's a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal. No objection. Motion is carried.
I move that we approve the Journal number 43 dated Monday, November 14, 2016. So move, Mr. Speaker.
There's a motion to approve journal number 43 dated Monday, November 14, 2016. No objection. The motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we resume the privilege hour.
There's a motion to resume the privilege hour. No objection. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the gentleman from Kabayan Party List, the Honorable Ron Salo, for his interpellation.
If Congressman Veloso is still willing.
No problem, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, the gentleman's recognized. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, may I inquire if the gentleman from Leyte would yield to some queries or questions?
Willingly, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Speaker, I respectfully note, Mr. Speaker, that I'm taking this opportunity to ventilate some of the concerns being raised by the gentleman from Leyte, in as much as I feel the emotional pain that is undergoing through. In the same manner that I personally know the gentleman from Leyte with such a short time when we were together, as he being the Vice Chair of the Justice Committee, and he valiantly questioned no less than J.B. Sebastian. Mr. Speaker, first, may I inquire if you personally know the late Mayor Espinosa?
I have not met Mayor Espinosa even in my dreams, Mr. Speaker. Look, Mayor Albuera, where Mayor Espinosa resides, is in the southern edge of the 4th District of Leyte. It's about almost or more than 100 kilometers away from my town, Villaba, in the 3rd District of Leyte. Ang layo, even if doon ako sa Leyte, I hardly would meet Mayor Espinosa. And remember that he became a politician only 2016 election. So I don't know this Mayor Espinosa, Mr. Speaker.
How about Mr. Kerwin Espinosa, Your Honor?
Looking at the face of Kerwin, siguro mga 30 years old lang ito. And since 27 years ako, NLRC and Court of Appeals, siguro kung ako'y nakapunta ng Albuera by accident, Kerwin would have only been 3 years old. Hindi kami magpapang-abot unless naging babysitter po ako, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Sir, third query is, inasmuch as the purported affidavit of the late Mayor Espinosa was typewritten, as opposed to it was handwritten, then we can immediately presume that it was written by the person. In this case, it was typewritten. Do you have any idea whether the late Mayor Espinosa personally executed said affidavit?
I cited, Mr. Speaker, the affidavit of Gallo Stephen Roberto, dated November 10, 2016. And here, he categorically said, paragraphs 4, 5, and, 6, 7, and 8. Nang gumawa po ng affidavit niya at kasama itong si Mayor Onic Espinosa were Jovi Espinido and Heidi Yutrago. Mga pulis po ito ng Albuera. Jovi Espinido was the chief of police and itong si Heidi Yutrago ay isang pulis doon. I would assume na kasama siya. But what makes it strange, Mr. Speaker, the affidavits were not only in English, they were in legal form. Basahin mo po, abogado lang pong pwedeng gumawa doon. I would assume that those who wanted to indulge of this business, in this business of dagdag bawas, to extort monies from those maliciously implicated, kasama doon sa 226 listed in the affidavits of Mayor Espinosa, itong mga tao pong ito ang gumawa, kasama yung abogado.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Next query is, you mentioned in your speech a while ago that such particular affidavit is hearsay, the contents of it. May I inquire what is the probative value of such affidavit as much as you mentioned that it's hearsay?
Well, it's hearsay, Your Honor, because under Section 36 of Rule 130 of the Rules of Court, only a person who has personal knowledge of facts therein stated can execute that affidavit. Here, itong sinasabi po ni Mayor Espinosa, sinabi sa akin ni Kerwin, sinabi sa akin ng accountant ni Kerwin. Double hearsay, Mr. Speaker. And in addition, ginamit pa as title judicial affidavit. But under the judicial affidavit rule of 2012, two things are important. Number one, dapat under Section 4, the affiant should be assisted by counsel because not only will he be incriminating himself, he will be opening himself to perjury and to libel suits. It is the function of his counsel to tell him when to stop and what to say, as long as it is the truth. Pangalawa po, Section 3 of the Judicial Affidavit Rule mandates that dapat mayroong affidavit in the language of the affiant. Ito, barely nakatapos ng elementary, English pa ang ginamit, without the benefit of a translation. And compare this, Mr. Speaker, with the affidavit of the accountant. Yung affidavit of the accountant had translation. Pero yung kay Mayor Espinosa, wala. Talagang sinadya para makapagdagdag bawas itong mga kriminal na gumawa ng affidavit. Besides, Mr. Speaker, nasa internet na yan. The brother, lumabas, sinabi sa akin yung una ito ni Congressman Ben Ibardone. Cebu Star, sinabi doon, quote in Bisaya, itong kapatid ni Mayor Espinosa, nagtanong kay Mayor Espinosa, bakit kapag gumawa ng affidavit? Ang sagot ni Mayor Espinosa, hindi naman ako gumawa ng affidavit, pinapirma lang po ako. And that has never been refuted by Jovis Pinido, nor by the police officers of Albuera.
Thank you very much for that answer. Next question. My next query is that you mentioned in your speech that your inclusion in the list is politically motivated. May I just inquire if you have some inkling who these people would have the motivation to include your name?
I mentioned, Mr. Speaker, alam mo sa politika sa amin, I was born to a family na deeply involved sa politika. When I was studying Ateneo Law, ang tatay ko po ay nasa politika. The congressman in our place, the late Marcelino Veloso, majority floor leader, was our congressman. Ang acting governor of Leyte was my brother Alberto Veloso na naging congressman din dito. Mayor of our place was the younger of my father. Even the congressman in Davao, the late Ismael Veloso, is the younger brother of my father. Nasa dugo po namin ang politika. But my brother, the late Alberto Veloso, warned me, huwag kang makikinig sa tatay natin dahil dugong politiko yan. Never ever join politics. Pumasok ka sa practice, maghanap ka ng pinakamagandang law office dito dahil may utak ka. And Mr. Speaker, nahihiya ko mang sabihin dahil baka sabihin din na ang abogado nila ay protector ni Kerwin Espinosa. From 1972 po up to 1979, nasa Accra Law ako. And this is the law office that produced 6 senators. Senator Cayetano, Senator Dillon, Senator Gordon, Senator Rocco, Senator Angara. Ang nag-organize po nito was Senator Enrile. Masipag po ako na practitioner, successful po ako na practitioner, and then from there, tumuloy ako sa NLRC and to the bench sa Court of Appeals. Wala po akong hilig sa politika. Ngayon lang po ako nakatakbo, 2016, simply because June 10, 2015, niloloko na ako nitong pinapanalo ko pagka-congressman. Ako pa naman napapanalo kay Andres Salvacion. Ang kalaban niya in 2007 was the wife of Edward Veloso. Nanalo lang siya by 1,000 plus votes. Ako mismo, from my rancho to my farm, I already had 3,500 votes. Ibinigay ko po yun kay Andres Salvacion. Nanalo siya. Sa pag-aakala ko na matino, nagpasalamat ako na nanalo siya. Only to find out na grabe pala ito. May goons at ipagyayabang pa po, Mr. Speaker. Sabi niya, I hope, hindi ko na pangangalanan, natuto siya sa isang congressman din daw dito from Samar na mahilig ng goons. At ang sabi niya, ang gagawin niya, 2 klaseng goons ang gagamitin niya against me. Hindi lang yung goons na non-uniform personnel ng gobyerno, kung hindi pati yung goons niya na uniform policemen and military personnel ng gobyerno. Ganon kagrabe itong si Andres Salvacion. And I cited, biro mo, pinuntahan pa ng tauhan niyang CIDG personnel, si Angay-Angay, ang isang nakakulong para pag-offeran. I-implicate mo lang si Justice Veloso, babayaran kita. Implicate mo lang as mastermind doon sa pagkamatay ng kumpare ko na Vice Mayor ng Villaba. So, in answer to your question, wala akong iba na pagdududahan. Wala naman akong mga kalaban doon, hindi kasi ako politiko doon. Nasabak lang po ako itong last elections. Kaya tama nga itong mga anak ko, Papa, huwag kang sumali sa politika. Madidisgrasya ka lang dyan. Mababahiran lang tayo. But that's water under the bridge, Mr. Speaker. Nagsabi na ako kay Manong Edsel, sarap mag-resign. Sabi niya, wag. Lahat nagsasabi, wag. It might even be construed as an admission of guilt, just like flight. So, I hope again I answered your question, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. And for my last query, inasmuch as this particular incident may happen to any person, including those people in this chamber, may I just inquire what is the legal recourse of a person included in this kinds of affidavit?
That brings me to mind. Yung kasabihan, pag may inililibing na, nakalagay daw doon, ngayon akin, bukas kayo naman. Sana hindi ito mangyari sa inyo, but what are the legal recourses we can have? We need legislation. Ganito kasi po ang nangyari sa akin. November 5, at about 5 o'clock, biglang lumabas, anonymous sa Facebook, yung question number 30. Nandoon yung Ching Veloso. Pagkatapos ang sumunod, ito yung Ching Veloso ng congressman ng 3rd District of Leyte. And then, lumabas pa sa TV Patrol without even giving me the opportunity to explain my side. Congressman Veloso ng 3rd District of Leyte, protector ni Kerwin. Okay, if you can have a legislation that would require media to first verify kung may bahid ng katotohanan bago sila magpapublish ng news. Because news can either be garbage or newsworthy. Definitely, kung tiningnan nila, isang tingin mo lang sa judicial affidavit, garbage na yun eh. Imagine Mayor Espinosa, who hardly finished high school, mag-execute in legal form, in legal language, in English, an affidavit. Pagkatapos, wala pang benefit of translation. Talagang dapat pagsabihan itong media, makikita mo kung at sight, hindi na, invalido na yung news, huwag nyo naman ipalabas. If we can craft a legislation to that effect, we all will be safe, Mr. Speaker.
That's all, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for answering my queries. And once again, I express my support to the gentleman from Leyte in defending his honor. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Majority
Thank you,
Leader.
Mr. Speaker. Maraming salamat po, colleagues.
Mr. Speaker, there being no other member who wishes to interpolate, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Vicente Veloso to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
There's a motion to refer the speech to Committee on Rules. No objection. The motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we terminate the privilege hour.
There's a motion to terminate the privilege hour. No objection. The motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, before we resume session, we would like to acknowledge the guests from the gallery of the Honorable Ana Catrina Enverga from the 1st District of Quezon, namely Luz Paquiague, the head teacher, Maria Concepcion Cuadra, Lalaine Calabano, Richelyn de Torres, Violeta Alcantara, Mirasol da Dios, and Rogelio Balagis. Also, Mr. Speaker, we would like to recognize the guests of Co-op NATCO Party List, from the Honorable Ben Canama and Tony Bravo, the cooperative leaders, namely Cora Ninfa Vivar, Emigdio Iroy, Georgina Basco, Leonora Garcia, Wilfie Kimo, Manuel Arado, Rogelio Mabilanga, Axel Binaoro, Wendell Pasok, Necitacio Abarquez, Gianette Cortez, Renilla Daway, Donato Almador, Benjamin Tongon, Filimon Espares, and Alex Gante. Welcome to the gallery.
Their presence is duly noted. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
Mr. Speaker, under the calendar of business for the day, I move that we consider House Bill 4149 as contained in Committee Report Number 17 submitted by the Committee on Local Government. And, Mr. Speaker, copies of the bills has been previously distributed to the members, and I request, therefore, that the Secretary General be instructed to read the title only of the bill without prejudice to the insertion into the records for the text thereof. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
No objection. Chair is none. The motion is carried. Secretary General.
House Bill number 4149, an act exempting from the population and land area requirements the conversion of a municipality into a component city if it has a locally generated average annual income of at least 250 million pesos, amending for the purpose Section 450 of Republic Act number 7160 as amended, otherwise known as the Local Government Code of 1991.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the chairperson of the Committee on Local Government be recognized to begin sponsorship of the measure.
The chairman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend session for a few minutes to allow technical staff and resource person to access the floor.
1 minute suspension. Session resumed.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the gentleman from the 1st District of South Cotabato, the Honorable Pedro Acharon Jr., to deliver his sponsorship speech.
Congressman Acharon is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good evening, fellow colleagues, Ms. House Representative. I'd like to move, Mr. Speaker, that the explanatory note of the bill will form part of the sponsorship speech, Mr. Speaker, so that we can proceed with the interpellation.
Please proceed. And the Secretary General is directed to include the explanatory note as part of the sponsorship speech of the Honorable Acharon. Please proceed.
This presentation, Mr. Speaker, is now ready to answer questions, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the gentleman from the 1st District of Albay, the Honorable Edsel Lagman, for his interpellation.
Congressman Lagman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the distinguished sponsor yield to interpellation?
Gladly, Mr. Speaker.
For a long time, there were three overriding factors which were considered in the creation of cities, namely population, land area, and average annual income. Will the distinguished sponsor, Mr. Speaker, inform this body whether under this bill, population and land area are not anymore to be considered in the creation of committees of our cities, and it will depend solely on the annual income of a city, of a proposed city consisting of 250 million pesos.
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. May we know why the factor on population has been excluded in the consideration in the creation of cities?
Well, Mr. Speaker, there are local government units who are able to exemplary display the good governance, thereby collecting more taxes and income for their local government unit. However, they were not able to comply with the requirements of land area, which is 100 square kilometers, or population of 150,000 inhabitants. But they were able to collect more than 250 million locally generated income. And that is why this bill seeks to exempt these local government units for compliance of the population or land area requirements for as long as they were able to collect more than 250 million locally generated income.
May we know, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, the municipalities which want to be converted into cities but do not qualify under the factor on population.
Actually, Mr. Speaker, there's only one municipality who has signified their intention about this exemption, where their income is more than 250 million, and I think that is from Cavite, that is Carmona, which has an income, locally generated income of 409 million. About the other municipalities, there's no other municipality, Mr. Speaker, that signifies to be included in this exemption.
In other words, are we being informed, Mr. Speaker, that we are legislating for a sole and solitary municipality, the municipality of Carmona?
It is not, Your Honor, because, Mr. Speaker, because we approved this, the committee has approved this in line with the desire of some municipalities who wanted to become city with larger income, but were not able to comply with, or cannot be able to comply with the population requirement or the land area requirement. We were informed, Mr. Speaker, that there are, I think, there were 9 municipalities with more than 250 million locally generated income, Mr. Speaker.
And may we know, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, the identification of these other municipalities?
According to the Bureau of Local Government Finance, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, they gave us a list of municipalities which has an income of more than 250 million, but with a population of less than 150,000. One is Limay Bataan with an income of 400 million but population of 57,207. Another one is Mariveles Bulacan with 351.25 million income with 112,707 population. We have Santo Tomas Batangas with an income of 319.93 million with a population of 124,740. And we have Carmona Cavite with 409.84 million with 74,986,000 population. We have Malay Aklan with a locally generated income of 326.34 million with only 45,811 population. And we have Carigara Leyte with an income of 255.16 million with a population of 47,444 population, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker.
We are just counting six.
Nine.
Nine.
One, two, three, four, five. Six, Your Honor.
Yeah. But aside from Carmona, only Carmona signified its intention to convert into a city. The other enumerated municipalities did not signify such an intention to be chartered as cities.
Yes, Your Honor, but they're just waiting for this law to be approved so that this is the time that they will apply for cityhood when this House bill will be approved, Mr. Speaker.
Now, can the distinguished sponsor inform us the reason why before population was an essential factor in the creation of cities?
The population, Your Honor, became one of the factors because in order for the locality to, of course, improve when there are people and there are enough income, of course, the services will be improved and there will be economic activities, thereby sustaining the development of a locality. But of course, among the three conditions, Mr. Speaker, there is no doubt that the income requirement is the most controlling in creating a local government unit such as municipality, city, or province, Mr. Speaker.
In other words, the reason why population was considered before as a factor does not obtain anymore as far as this bill is concerned.
It will still obtain, Mr. Speaker, but since they were not able to comply with the requirement of 150,000 as mandated in the local government code, that's why we are seeking this exemption, because after all, they have less population, but they have bigger income. They can still develop more the area, Mr. Speaker. Much more that they can deliver the basic services that is being required of by the people, because they have enough money and they have only fewer inhabitants, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Were there other reasons why population was considered a factor before?
Of course, Mr. Speaker, the first thing, the reason why the population was considered is that you cannot operate, you cannot create a government without the people, because this is a people of government by the people and for the people, Mr. Speaker.
Now, why are we now dispensing the factor of population in the creation of cities? If that was the reason before, it should be still a current and viable reason today.
The reason, Mr. Speaker, is that with their money with their income, rather of 250 million for a locality of less than 100 square kilometers, they can, as I've said, deliver the services needed, Mr. Speaker, because of their income. The population requirement was not dispensed, Mr. Speaker, because in the first place, when they were created as municipality, they were able to comply with the requirements of the law in creating a municipality, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker.
Well, a city which is earning no less than 250 million annually will not be able to make use of such income if there are no sufficient number of people to be served. Is that a correct statement, distinguished sponsor?
Please repeat, Your Honor.
A city which has 250 million income but does not have the adequate number of people to be served will just be immobilizing its funds because the people to be served are not there because population is not anymore a factor in the creation of cities.
The people that are present in their present locality, in their current locality, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker, of course will increase for sure once these municipalities will be converted into city. But it doesn't mean that the government with 250 million income cannot deliver the services to its people. Much more, Mr. Speaker, that they can deliver more projects, programs, and they can conduct more activities because they have enough money to develop their community, Mr. Speaker. As I've said, Your Honor, when they were created as municipality, they were able to comply with the requirements. We believe, Mr. Speaker, that if you have enough money, you can deliver the services needed by the people.
In other words, are we informing this chamber that a proposed city may only have about 20,000 population, and it does not matter that it has only 20,000 people to serve, as long as it has an annual income of 250 million a year?
Well, Mr. Speaker, we also believe that there is no municipality that is less than that has only 20,000 population, Your Honor, because for sure, if it is generating an income of more than 250 million or 250 million annually, then for sure it has more people. It has already more than 20,000 people, and the community is already developed, and the reason why they were able to collect more taxes, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
In the case of the enumerated municipalities, there were 6 of them. which have an annual income of not less than 250 million. Can the distinguished sponsor inform this body whether what is the average number of people residing in the 6 municipalities?
We still computed, Mr. Speaker. Can we ask for a suspension?
1 minute suspension.
Mr. Speaker, we're ready.
Session resumed.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Lagman has been asking for the average population of the 6 municipalities. It is now, the average is 67,631 people.
I beg your pardon?
67,631.
In the case of the municipality of Carmona, Cavite, what is the population?
The population, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker, is 74,986.
Now, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, instead of completely eliminating the factor of population, can we not just reduce the land area? No, the population lower than the present requirement of 150,000 for those municipalities or aggregation of barangays which have an income of not less than 250 million a year?
Well, Mr. Speaker, that can be done through, of course, an amendment to the existing law, because the existing law requires 150,000 population. But this time, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, this is the House bill has been referred to our committee, and this was duly adopted by the committee, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
So in other words, from that answer, the distinguished sponsor is amenable to an amendment reducing the 150,000 population requirement to a lower number in case of municipalities or aggregation of barangays which have an income of 250 million annually. Is that correct?
No, Your Honor. This representation believes that the requirements of creating a local government unit is that it has an income and then population or land area. Now, this exemption, Mr. Speaker, will serve as an incentive to the local government units, especially the municipality, who were able to demonstrate exemplary governance, thereby generating more income for their locality, Mr. Speaker. We want to give incentives to these local government units who were able to display good governance, especially when it comes to income generation. We do not want to reduce the requirement, Mr. Speaker.
In other words, the distinguished sponsor will insist to completely eliminate the factor of population in the creation of municipalities.
Not only not really, Mr. Speaker. As I've been asked by this House bill that the population will stay, the population of the local government unit, which has an income of 250 million, for sure, that will really increase, Mr. Speaker. We did not set aside population or land area because these are important aspects of development. But of course, as I've said, as we have included in our committee hearings, that we wanted to give incentives, chance for this area to be developed more. If they were given, it will be exempted from population and land area or land area requirement for as long as they collected more than, or they collected at least 250 million income, Mr. Speaker. The argument, Mr. Speaker, is that the requirement as of now is 100 million for a municipality to become city. Now, for a municipality who can collect more than double the 100 million minimum requirements, but they were not able to be able to comply with the population requirement or land area, then they will be exempted. That's the beginning of this discussion, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Now, let me go to the other requirement, the land area. Could the distinguished sponsor inform this body what was the reason why land area before was an indispensable requirement for the creation of municipalities, of cities, even if the income would be more than the minimum requirement of 100 million?
Mr. Speaker, the requirement for creating a municipality before was just a smaller, Mr. Speaker. And of course, the land area for municipality requirements are also smaller, Mr. Speaker. There were some municipalities who were created before who was really lesser land area, Mr. Speaker, and today they can no longer expand because the boundaries are already specific, Mr. Speaker, and there are no other areas to be given to them unless the neighboring municipalities will give their area, Mr. Speaker. So, in order to give them the chance to become a city, Mr. Speaker, even if they cannot be able to enlarge, expand their land, then they will just have to increase their income to 250 million so that they will be able to comply, Mr. Speaker. Because there are really local government units, Mr. Speaker, especially municipalities, who were approved before, Mr. Speaker, who were created as municipalities, even if their area are smaller, Mr. Speaker. But as of now, we cannot do something to improve their land area, Mr. Speaker.
My question really is, what was the reason for requiring a minimum land area for the creation of cities before? Understandably, no local government unit must exist without any adequate land area.
But of course, the requirement is that we cannot create a local government if you do not have the land. That is why if you don't have the inhabitants and most importantly the income, Mr. Speaker. The framers of our code before, Mr. Speaker, somehow must have some reason why they pegged the minimum requirements at where they pegged the minimum requirements for land and population during that time, Mr. Speaker.
Now, may we know presently what is the minimum requirement for land area in order for a municipality or group of barangays be chartered as a city?
For municipality, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker, the land area requirements is 50 square kilometers. I think this is 5,000 hectares. While city, the requirement is 100 square kilometers or 10,000 hectares. So these municipalities, for sure, they have 50 square kilometers of land area, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Now, may we know from the distinguished sponsor what is the average land area of the 6 municipalities who have income of not less than 250 million annually?
Honestly, Mr. Speaker, we do not have that figure as of now.
Can we have that figure later or next week?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we can get the figures of these municipalities. But as I've said, Mr. Speaker, that they were already created as municipality, and as I've said, they have displayed good governance, that they were able to invite business or economic or business or economic activities in the area. That's why they were able to collect more than 250 million. But of course, the land area can be provided, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Incidentally, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, was the League of Cities invited to put their inputs on this particular measure?
Yes, Your Honor. During the last 2 Congresses, last Congress and this Congress, they were invited, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker.
And what was the recommendation or position of the League of Cities?
They sent their during the committee hearing, Mr. Speaker, they sent Ms. Veron and we ask a suspension, Mr. Speaker.
1 minute suspension.
Ready, Your Honor.
Session resumed.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, the League of Cities sent Ms. Veron Hitoses, Unit Head, Policy and Legislation, League of Cities, the Philippines. And she only...
Was this representative a duly authorized person to represent the League of Cities?
Accordingly, Mr. Speaker, yes, because this was during the technical working group hearing conducted by the committee, Mr. Speaker.
In other words, the League of Cities did not completely recommend the bill as proposed, excluding land area and population requirements once an aspiring city has an average income of not less than 250 million pesos. Is that correct?
During the committee hearing, Your Honor, yes.
Yes. May we have a copy of that position paper of the League of Cities so that we will be able to properly apprise ourselves on the position of the League of Cities?
Yes, Your Honor. Just to inform the Honorable Lagman and the Mr. Speaker, the Speaker, that this committee hearing was conducted during the 16th Congress, Mr. Speaker.
In other words, the League of Cities was not invited in a committee hearing during the 17th Congress, this current Congress?
They were invited, Mr. Speaker. The OLAP, United League, Union of League of Local Authorities of the Philippines, the OLAP, the League of Cities, the League of Municipalities were invited, Mr. Speaker.
May we have copies of their position papers, if any, were submitted?
They did not send their position papers, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. How many hearings were conducted by the committee with respect to this proposed measure?
During the last Congress, Mr. Speaker, we conducted, I think, 2 hearings of this, or we conducted two hearings, one during the first introduction of the bill, and then there was a technical working group that was created, headed by Honorable Junjun Mendoza, and then it was during the approval, was the second, and today the author cited the provision in our committee rules that this, since this House bill has been approved last Congress, then we can then the committee may dispose this on this Congress, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, with due respect to the two gentlemen,
Yes,
on the
Congressman
floor,
Atienza.
as they are discussing a very important piece of legislation, this will convert additional municipalities into cities with very, very big impact on the existence of cities today. There are serious objections to this. Meanwhile, we understand the position of the sponsor and the questions relayed by the gentleman uh, from Bicol. So, due to the importance of the matter being discussed and the lateness of the hour too, we do not see enough members anymore who should participate in this very critical piece of legislation. We're afraid it may be approved on second reading with just a handful of members on the floor. So at this point, we're constrained to question if there is a quorum. If there is no quorum, we move for adjournment, and we should take up this issue under better conditions where we will all be informed properly.
Thank you, Congressman Atienza. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move for a few minutes suspension?
1 minute suspension.
Suspendin natin muna because anyway we are going to get some data. Kasi we're not going to get some data. Importante ito because we are dispensing of two important things. Ako sana aalis ng maaga pero when you inform me,
pending the submission of the required documents of the Honorable Lagman, let us suspend consideration of this particular bill. Majority Leader, please lay the predicate motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we, without the quorum, suspend the consideration of House Bill number 4149 under Committee Report number 17.
There's a motion to suspend consideration of the aforementioned bill. No objection. The motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no other matters, I move that we adjourn session until tomorrow, November 16 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay. So move, Mr. Speaker.
We're adjourned. Pula sabi ko, motion is adjourned.